What if I told you that the very thing you believe is your greatest strength, your ability to love deeply, might actually be the reason you're hurting so much? Not because love is wrong, not because you chose the wrong person, but because somewhere along the way, your love stopped being shared and started becoming a sacrifice. Have you ever felt like you gave someone everything? Your time, your energy, your loyalty, your heart, and still ended up feeling empty? Like the more you loved, the more you lost yourself? If yes, then this isn't just a video. This is a mirror. Because today we're going to talk about something no one really prepares you for. The quiet truth that loving someone too deeply, without boundaries, without balance, without self-preservation, can slowly turn into pain. And by the end of this, you won't just understand why it hurts. You'll understand how to protect your heart without losing your ability to love. Loving deeply is not a flaw. Let's make that clear from the beginning. In a world where people are afraid to feel, where connections are shallow, where everything is temporary, your ability to love with intensity, honesty, and vulnerability is rare. You don't just like people. You don't just care. You invest. You feel their happiness like it's your own. You carry their pain like it belongs to you. You remember the small things, the details, the moods, the silences. You show up. And for the right person, this kind of love feels like home. But here's the part no one tells you. Deep love without emotional boundaries can slowly become emotional dependency. And that's where the pain begins. Because when you love deeply, you don't just open your heart. You give someone access to your inner world, your peace, your self-worth, your identity. And if that person doesn't handle it with care, or worse, takes it for granted, you don't just feel hurt, you feel broken. One of the biggest reasons deep love becomes painful is because it stops being something you do and starts becoming something you are. You don't just love them, you live for them. Your mood depends on their behavior. Your happiness depends on their attention. Your sense of worth depends on how they treat you. And slowly, without realizing, you disappear. You stop asking yourself what you need. You stop prioritizing your own growth. You stop setting limits. Because somewhere inside you, there's a fear, a quiet voice that says, if I don't love them this much, what if they leave? So you give more, you tolerate more, you sacrifice more, until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. Love becomes painful when it's not equal. And equality in love doesn't mean 50-50 all the time. It means mutual effort, mutual respect, mutual care. But when you love too deeply, you often end up loving more than the other person. You text first. You apologize first. You try harder. You forgive faster. And at first, it feels okay, because you tell yourself, this is just who I am. I love deeply. I don't expect anything in return. But that's not entirely true, because deep inside, you do expect something. Not grand gestures, not perfection, just consistency, effort, reassurance. And when that doesn't come, when your love isn't reflected back, creates an emotional imbalance. You start questioning, why am I not enough? Why don't they love me the same way? What am I doing wrong? And this is where deep love turns into silent suffering. Because instead of seeing the imbalance clearly, you internalize the problem. You blame yourself. There's a difference between loving someone deeply and being emotionally attached to them in a way that hurts you. Love says, I care about you, but I still respect myself. Attachment says, I need you to feel okay. Love allows space. Attachment fears distance. Love is steady. Attachment is anxious. When you love too deeply without awareness, it often becomes attachment. And attachment is dangerous because it creates dependency. You don't just want the person, you feel like you need them. And when they pull away even slightly, you feel it intensely. A delayed reply becomes anxiety. A change in tone becomes overthinking. A small conflict becomes fear of loss. Your mind starts creating stories. They're losing interest. They're going to leave. I'm not enough. And suddenly your peace is gone. Not because something major happened, but because your emotional stability is tied to someone else's behavior. When you love someone too deeply, you often give more than you receive. Not just materially, but emotionally. You listen to them for hours, but no one listens to you the same way. You support them in their struggles, but your struggles feel unseen. You make time for them, but they don't always make time for you. And yet, you keep giving, because you believe, if I love them enough, they'll eventually love me the same way. But love doesn't work like that. Love is not something you can earn by sacrificing yourself. The more you ignore your own needs, the more you teach others that your needs don't matter. And that's the painful truth. When you overgive without boundaries, you don't just lose energy, you lose yourself. At the core of loving too deeply is often a deep fear of loss. Maybe you've been abandoned before. Maybe you've been hurt in the past. Maybe you've experienced love that didn't last. So when you finally find someone you care about, you hold on tightly, too tightly. You try to control outcomes. You try to avoid conflict. You try to be perfect, because losing them feels unbearable. But here's the irony. The tighter you hold on, the more pressure you create. And sometimes that pressure pushes people away. Not because you're not worthy, but because the relationship loses its natural balance. And when they eventually pull back, confirms your deepest fear, and the pain becomes even stronger. When you love deeply, you don't just see the person for who they are. You see their potential, their good side, their possibilities. You create a version of them in your mind. Someone who understands you completely, someone who will eventually match your depth. And you hold on to that version, even when reality doesn't match, even when they show inconsistency, even when they hurt you, even when they don't meet your emotional needs. You tell yourself, they're just going through something. They'll change. They care. They just don't show it. And maybe some of that is true. But sometimes you're not loving the person. You're loving the idea of them. And that gap between expectation and reality is where the pain lives. Not everyone experiences heartbreak the same way. For someone who loves casually, moving on might be easier. But for someone who loves deeply, it's different, because you didn't just invest time. You invested your soul. Your memories are deeper. Your emotions are stronger. Your attachment is stronger. So when something breaks, it doesn't feel like a small crack. It feels like everything shattered. And that's why the pain feels overwhelming. Not because you're weak, but because you loved with your whole heart. But here's the most important part of this entire conversation. Loving deeply is not the problem. Loving without boundaries is. You don't need to become cold. You don't need to stop caring. You don't need to change your nature. You just need to learn balance. Because the goal is not to love less. The goal is to love smarter. To love in a way that includes yourself. Start with this. 1. Keep your identity intact. Don't lose yourself in someone else. Have your own goals, your own life, your own space. 2. Set emotional boundaries. It's okay to say no. It's okay to expect effort. It's okay to walk away from imbalance. 3. Observe actions, not words. Love is not what someone says. It's what they consistently do. 4. Stop overgiving. Give what is reciprocated, not what is hoped for. 5. Choose someone who chooses you, not occasionally, not conditionally, but consistently. At the end of the day, the right person will never make your love feel like a burden. They won't make you question your worth. They won't make you feel like you're too much, because to the right person, your depth is not overwhelming. It's exactly what they were looking for. So don't stop loving deeply. Just make sure you're not the only one doing it. If this video resonated with you, if you saw yourself in these words, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Voxlore Audio for more deep, meaningful content that speaks to the heart. Stay aware, stay balanced, and keep loving the right way.